breaking news for your home. Wayday! Wayfair's big sale is almost here, and you can score the best deals in home. Like up to 80% off everything home. Yes, you heard that right. 80% off with free shipping on everything. Plus surprise flash deals all Wayday long. We're talking outdoor furniture and essentials, rugs, and more. All at Wayfair, and all up to 80% off during Wayday. Shop Wayfair's Wayday from April 25th through 27th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor, crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to Kachava.com and use code NEWS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code NEWS.
Quality proteins aren't just for special occasions. With Omaha Steaks, you get mouth-watering proteins delivered right to your door. Individually packaged and portioned, so a great dinner is just minutes away. From Taco Tuesday to a weekend feast. Taste the Omaha Steaks difference. Start getting flavorful proteins delivered today. Visit omahasteaks.com and get $35 off with promo code AUDIO at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, code AUDIO. Terms apply. See site for details.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word SHOW to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word SHOW, SHOW, to 33777. Text SHOW to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. It is an Open Line Friday, and the phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very, very happy to have you. As always, you can text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, and you can get everything you need to know about the show and then some. You can follow me on social media. I'll be doing cooking this weekend, so follow me on Instagram at EW. I'm basically EW Erickson everywhere. There is one social media company that will go nameless. That because I'm EW Erickson on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Rumble, everywhere. So a particular social media company withheld EW Erickson and was delighted to sell it to me. And so I am not on that social media platform. I didn't want to be on that one anyway. And for the longest time, I was not on TikTok. I don't like TikTok. I think it's a Chinese surveillance site. Everybody insisted I should be putting up my clips on TikTok. So fine, I got EW Erickson on TikTok. And they put up clips of my show on TikTok. You can follow me on TikTok. I don't use TikTok. It is a communist surveillance site. You should not use TikTok. But I do put up my clips there, and we make sure to put up all the clips where I blast China. Just because. Now, we must move on from Schrodinger Strait. Is it open? Is it closed? Depends on how you look at it. When we must move to Black Lives Matter. You're not going to really hear this story from the American Press Corps. According to the prevailing narrative in the American media, Donald Trump is racist. That is the American Press Corps for major media outlets has internalized the idea that Donald Trump is a racist. Donald Trump is not a racist, by the way. I'll tell you the story of my first time meeting Donald Trump. I went to his office in 2011. He would remember this. So I go into Trump Tower in 2011, and I think he was toying with the idea of running for president at the time. And he had written a book. My company at the time, Red State, was owned by Eagle Publishing. Eagle Publishing's Regnery Publishing had published his book, and they told me to do a sit-down interview. They were trying to monetize it. It worked pretty good. We had a great off-camera conversation. He had just gotten the 757. And I love planes, and we sat for a while and talked about the 757. We talked about golf. You know, the few conversations we've had in the last few years, he needles me about how bad I am at golf. I want to do an interview with Donald Trump. I want to do an in-person interview with Donald Trump about golf. I don't need to talk to him about politics. I don't need to talk to him about policy. I want to talk to Donald Trump about golf. I want to talk to Trump about golf architecture and grass on the golf course and the styling of golf and what makes a great golf facility. I am actually fascinated. This is a man who actually, you can think whatever you want to think about Donald Trump. He knows golf. He's obsessed with golf. And I would actually love to do an interview with Donald Trump just about golf courses and golf and the grass on golf courses and the design of golf courses and all of that. I would actually be fascinated to hear him talk about it. I know Bryson DeChambeau and him have talked about it before. I think that would be one of the coolest interviews I could do, is talking to Trump, not about politics and public policy, but about golf. It would drive everyone else insane. Erickson, you didn't ask him about blah, 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 blah. No, I want to talk to him about golf. Nonetheless, my first time interviewing Donald Trump, I walked into Trump Tower. Now, he had never met me before, didn't know me. And I walked in, and there he was talking to, I want to say it was a janitor in the Trump Tower, the black guy, older gentleman who was working, they had like a food court area or something. And he and Trump were just talking like they were best friends. And I was actually really struck by how hands-on friendly he was with just like a janitor. Trump has, of course, dated a black woman. The media, of course, they look on Donald Trump and they think this guy is a racist. I've seen him with the people who work for him who are not white. I know about his prior relationships. I know about his friendships with people. And the man is not a racist. The media, because they're heavy with Democrats, they like to say he's a racist because it plays well with the Democratic base. And so much of the media are Democrats. It plays well with the Democrats to claim that Donald Trump is somehow racist. And he's not. He is very much not a racist. And the problem for so much of the American press corps is they refuse to recognize the indications that defy the narrative. And one of the great narratives of this administration that the media chooses not to cover is that black lives actually do matter to Donald Trump. And the proof is that Washington, D.C. is on pace for 42 murders this year, the lowest since, any ideas? Any idea? 1930. Washington, D.C. is on track to have as many murders as in 1930, 42. For perspective, 2 years ago, Washington, D.C. had 274 murders. Last year, 128. Carjackings are down 44%. Washington, D.C. is safe. You know where else? Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee. Crime has cratered in Memphis, Tennessee. These are two majority black cities, majority black politicians. What has changed? Donald Trump sending the National Guard to help crack down on crime. Aggressive federal prosecutors willing to prosecute. One of the things that it was the Trump administration that pushed D.C. to do was to end the policy where juveniles were charged as juveniles. Or charged, you were not allowed in Washington, D.C. until Trump came back and pushed the issue to charge juveniles as adults. They found that the majority of crime in Washington, D.C., as in Memphis, was caused by less than 2% of the population. And Donald Trump, not the local prosecutors, not the local politicians, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, forced the local prosecutors and the local politicians to get rid of the policy whereby you could not charge juveniles as adults. He forced them to. Because as president of the United States, Washington, D.C. is a federal territory, and the federal government has ample say in what they do. By the way, the president of the United States first had Ed Martin in charge of D.C. as U.S. attorney, and then Jeanine Pirro, Judge Jeanine, and they got rid of the soft on crime policies. They even started advocating for the death penalty again in Washington, D.C. Crime is down. And in Washington, D.C., the areas with the most crime were the areas that were the black neighborhoods, the poor neighborhoods, predominantly non-white neighborhoods. There was crime in the northwest area of D.C. You know, D.C. is diamond-shaped. And in the northwest part of Washington, D.C., that is where the white people live. That's the ritzy section of D.C. That's where Georgetown is. It's where the White House is. It's the touristy area. And that's where the fancy parks are. And that's where the Washington National Cathedral is. And that's where the embassies are. And that's the part of D.C. where they had the least crime. They still had a lot of crime there, but it was far less than the other areas. The poor people live on the southeast side of D.C. and the southern part of D.C., Anacostia, that area. And the president of the United States sent the National Guard into those areas, started with the tourist areas to bring the tourists back. By the way, you know what has changed as well? Taxation generated by tourism is up in Washington, D.C. We hear about how bad the economy is. And look, I understand grocery prices have gone up, beef prices have gone up, egg and chocolate prices have gone down, gas prices have gone up because of Iran. But revenue from tourists is up in Washington, D.C. Why? Because people feel safe going to Washington, D.C. I haven't been to Washington, D.C. in a while. I'm planning a trip to Washington, D.C. Probably about a month from now. I got to go up. I'm speaking at a conference towards the middle end of May. I might stay in D.C. a few days. I might stay in an area of D.C. that had been in the past a place you didn't want to stay. A lot of carjackings, people on the streets getting mugged. That's not happening now in any of those parts of D.C. It's safe. It's safe because the president of the United States believes that Black Lives Matter is not a slogan, it's a reality. Black lives do matter. And the president of the United States, who the media vilifies as a racist, took actions to make Washington, D.C. a safe place, not just for the white tourists, but for the black residents. He did the same thing in Memphis, Tennessee. In Memphis, Tennessee, it's a changed city. My family lives in Memphis, Tennessee. My sister and her family do. My niece is a nurse in Memphis, Tennessee. My niece was telling me before the president's team went in there that nurses, she works at a hospital. She's the neonatal ICU unit. She would work long shifts. And nurses would come out of her hospital and find their cars on cinder blocks and the tires stolen. Doesn't happen anymore. They're not scared of it anymore. Why are they not scared of it anymore? Because the president sent in the National Guard and worked with local police, and they got serious. And the nurses who were working 12-hour shifts coming out finding their cars on cinder blocks and no tires don't have to worry anymore. You know, tourism is back in downtown Memphis. The revenue from tourism has gone up. Why? Because a lot of people were going to Nashville. Nashville's a great place. I love Nashville. I need to get to Nashville. Dave Ramsey's team has invited me to come up to Franklin and hang out with them. I need to get up to Nashville. My wife loves Nashville. It's a great place. But a lot of people were skipping Memphis, which has a great history tied to Elvis and Beale Street and the like and barbecue. They're going to Nashville instead, the country music capital of the world. And now they're going back to the blues capital of the world in Memphis because it's safe to be on Beale Street at night. There are no random shootings anymore. It's safe. You know, my sister and her family were telling me, you know, their biggest complaint in Memphis with the crackdown now is people used to fly through Memphis, Tennessee on the interstate. You get through Memphis very fast. because everyone was scared to stop in Memphis. And so people sped through Memphis and the cops didn't do anything. Now everybody goes to the speed limit. It's slower to get through Memphis now because people are doing the speed limit. Why? Because the president of the United States believes black lives actually do matter and did what he could to make the place safe. Same with Washington, D.C. Have you heard the story? I bet you haven't. Let me just compare this to the China story. The president of the United States is now forcing the Chinese to buy oil from Venezuela at market prices instead of the subsidy Venezuela was giving them. It's driven up the cost in China. The Chinese Navy is a purely diesel-driven Navy. The cost of diesel in China is up 37% this year because they now are restricted in what they can buy from Venezuela. They have been restricted from what they can buy in Iran. Not only that, the Americans now with a treaty with the Philippines now has access to the South China Sea militarily in ways we had not previously. The president and the Indonesians now have a military pact to control the Strait of Malacca and the Timor Deep, the two routes to get west from China into the Middle East, Africa, and the rest of Southeast Asia. The president of the United States has the American Navy controlling the Strait of Hormuz and Iranian ports blocked, so China can't get cheap oil from Iran anymore. The president of the United States has restricted Chinese access to the rest of the world and basically booted them out of the Western Hemisphere. China had a spy operation in Cuba that they've had to wind down. The Chinese were basically in control of the Chilean government, and they're not anymore because we've worked with the Chileans to push China out. We've pushed China out of the South America. We've pushed China out of Central America. We've driven up their oil prices and their oil costs. And has the media told you about this? No, they haven't. Has the media told you that Washington, D.C. is on track for 42 murders in 2026? No, the media has not. Why? Because they would be required to give Donald Trump credit for reducing crime in D.C. They would be required to give Donald Trump credit for reducing crime in Memphis. They would be required to give Donald Trump credit for a strategic initiative that has further isolated China from choke points headed west militarily with its Navy. They would be required to give Donald Trump credit for isolating China in the Central and South America, the Western Hemisphere. They would be required to give Donald Trump credit for these things, and instead they'd rather you believe Donald Trump is a menace and crazy and has no geopolitical thinking and that it's all accident and luck when he stumbles into things. And instead, Donald Trump actually believed Black Lives Matter, and he's made areas of this country that are predominated by black citizens safer. He believes that America in leadership of the world is a good thing and has reduced China's influence in the world and driven up their costs. And so the media would prefer not to tell you these stories, and yet that's the reality on the ground.
The new Wegovy pill is now available through Weight Watchers. Powerful GLP-1 results in a simple pill at the lowest price available. And with Weight Watchers, you can get doctor support and personalized nutrition programs. See if you qualify at WeightWatchers.com. Ad not reviewed or approved by Novo Nordisk.
Hello and welcome. Those of you on the phones, if you will please stay on the phone. I will get to you as soon as we come back. I ran so long this last segment. I've run out the clock here, and let me just real quick before I move into ads here. Got to read this from Christian Amanpour. Using the Pentagon to lash out at journalists in extreme biblical terms is unprecedented, misguided, and frankly wrong on the substance. Ever since Sunday school Catholic classes, I've been well aware of the scribes and the Pharisees. They were the bad guys against Jesus, the good guy. In current U.S. good and evil war parlance, bearing witness to the truth is what we journalists are commanded to do without fear nor favor. I'm well aware of the Ten Commandments, therefore urge government radical anywhere to follow the ninth against bearing false witness. I got to tell you, Christian Amanpour is relentlessly hostile to this country and its priorities, and particularly to this administration. And spare me the lecture on Hegseth. If I were to tell Hegseth anything, I wouldn't compare the oppressed to the Pharisees, because the Pharisees were deeply religious and highly legalistic, and it's the press corps are secular hedonists, and they're not going to understand it. Now, I got to tell you about Vision Computers, because they would love to have your business if you're in the market for computers. they would love to build a computer for you, and their world-class tech support comes with it. We've got a computer from Vision in our house. It's my son's gaming PC. He'll be taking it to college, and he will have Vision's tech support with him when he's there. And so while he's away, if he runs into a problem, he can call their number in 15 seconds or less. He can get someone on the phone from Vision, and they can help him if he's ever got a problem, whether it's setting up the computer, doing email, printer support, you name it. Vision Computers can work with you as well. 404-COMPUTER, visioncomputers.com. Call Vision Computers today. Let them help you. They can help your business. Your entire business can use Vision Computers managed IT service anywhere in the country. They'll work with your company, save you some money. You don't have to have the in-house IT guy. You have Vision Computers. Every employee gets the number. 15 seconds or less. They get a live human being, not an AI chatbot on the phone, and they stay productive while Vision keeps your computers productive. Call them at 404-COMPUTE. Tell them Eric sent you. 404-COMPUTER, visioncomputers.com. Greetings. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. 877-973-7425. 877-97-ERIC, E-R-I-C-K. That's the phone number. I'm going to go to Joy. Who's been waiting very patiently. Joy, thank you for waiting. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good, and I appreciate all your commentaries. And I had a comment on the Iran thing. I have a lot of Iranian friends, and they were been so hopeful that there was finally going to be regime change. And I think the deal is terrible because, number one, you can't trust the regime, not just because they're Shia, but because they murdered 40,000 people. These are not trustworthy people. As soon as we get a different administration, the deal will go out the window. They'll be trying to help rebuild Iran, and we can't release their money. We can't do anything to keep them from being weak. So maybe the people can finally have hope and take over.
Yeah, look, I got to tell you, I'm with you in this. I think that pressure could be brought to bear, and the military could be brought to bear to continue crushing this regime. It's what the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Israelis have all wanted. And I think we should. And again, I'm with you. We can't trust them, number one. And number two, you got the tiger by the tail. You hadn't defanged it or declawed it. They're going to try to maul you because the Iranians want to bring about the apocalypse. And I know I keep beating a dead the drum on this, beating a dead horse on this, so to speak. And Joy, thank you for your phone call. But I got one more time with gusto, I guess, on this before I move on. Let me just make this point for every one of you to hear. A lot of you didn't want to go into Iran. You have very valid arguments. I disagree, but your arguments are completely valid, including we should have gotten congressional authorization under the Constitution for the president to do this. We should have. The problem with the congressional authorization is that it would have taken a long time and given Iran a major opportunity to bunker down and wait. So catching them by surprise was good. That's an inherent flaw we've got these days in our system of government we need to think about. The Iranian regime fundamentally, not making this up, the Iranian regime fundamentally believes in bringing about the apocalypse. It is the goal of the Iranian regime to bring about the apocalypse. You can be dismissive of that. I want you to understand, however, it is absolutely 1,000% true that is the reason for being for the Iranian regime. They wish to destroy the Western world and bring about the Mahdi. It's why this regime exists. It was the stated goal at the founding of the regime to bring about the Mahdi, to set the stage for his return. And they believe that through geopolitical actions, they can do that. And what are the geopolitical actions that Iran believes it must do? The destruction of Israel and of Christendom, particularly Israel. Iran believes through the perversions of Islam that Iran has embraced that Jesus will return as a prophet of Allah and an agent of the Mahdi. Christians believe Jesus is the Son of God. You got to understand that one of the founding presuppositional ideas of Islam is essentially Muhammad claiming that the prior Abrahamic religions of Judaism and Christianity got perverted and twisted, and he was bringing the truth. And that truth was that Muhammad was God's one prophet. Jesus Christ was not the Son of God. He was killed by the Jews, and that he would come back and usher in the Mahdi, who would bring about the end of the world and Islamic utopia. And Iran's goal is to bring about that utopia by destroying Israel, and the Mahdi would come back. And the way to destroy Israel is to build a nuclear weapon, because Israel is a small nation. The former Ayatollah referred to Israel as a one-nuke nation. So I need you to fundamentally understand this about the regime. This regime exists for the purpose of the destruction of Israel and a war with Christianity. You got to understand that. If you can't understand that, you can't understand Iran. It is totally rational for Iran to do what they're doing, to lie, to get their way. And if you're a secularist, if you don't believe in miracles, if you can't believe in the resurrection of Jesus, if you don't believe in Noah's Ark, if you don't believe in Adam and Eve, you can't believe that there is a regime on this planet at Iran's level that believes that their job is to bring about the apocalypse. And so many Western leaders and so many Western policymakers and so many Westerners who are engaged in strategic thinking are secularists, and they can't understand it, and so they can't acknowledge it, and so they can't relate to it, and so they can't deal with it. And that's the problem. Now, I want to talk about Pete Hegseth and his prayer. Russia Today, which is a propaganda outlet, circulated a clip that originated from a left-wing site that was picked up by the American media, that Pete Hegseth said a prayer yesterday that was based on a prayer from Pulp Fiction, and that he got Ezekiel 25:17 wrong. And this is all very relevant. And what I want you to understand more than anything else is that the American press corps works in conjunction with left-wing, pure left-wing propaganda outlets to smear this administration unfairly, and in this particular case, to smear Pete Hegseth. Now, I went on television last night with Anderson Cooper and Paul Begala to defend Pete Hegseth, and because of the events of the day, we never actually got to it. But I'm going to defend Pete Hegseth. I got criticisms of Pete Hegseth. You know what my biggest criticism of Pete Hegseth is? Pete Hegseth is a newer convert to Christianity. Pete Hegseth was not really a believer in Jesus until later in his life. And do you know what new evangelical converts have in common with vegans and CrossFitters? You're going to find out about it, because they're going to make sure they tell you again and again and again. If you're a Catholic, if you're a Methodist, if you're a mainline Christian, Lutheran, you don't understand this. But every evangelical in the United States of America can point out the new converts, because they cannot shut up about it. It's just the truth. And Pete Hegseth has been a Christian for a few years, but he's still pretty much a baby Christian. He loves Jesus, and he wants you to love Jesus, and he wants to weave Christian metaphors into anything and everything. And he sees God's hand in everything. He's not necessarily wrong there, but like CrossFitters and vegans, he wants you to know about his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ at every moment he gets. And he weaves Jesus into everything. There's nothing wrong with that. But even for those of us who are lifelong evangelicals, we're like, okay, buddy, we get it. You can stop now. Pete Hegseth did nothing wrong at the Pentagon. And to the extent you heard Pete Hegseth yesterday and you thought this was stupid that he quoted a prayer from Pulp Fiction, you have been played by the American press corps. Now, I'm going to play you the clip that circulated from the left. It is the clip that was embraced and played on CNN last night. It's been played on MS Now. It's been played in other press outlets. It's gone viral on the left. I've seen friends of mine grab hold of this clip and think that Pete Hegseth embarrassed himself. And what this clip is it is a side-by-side comparison of his prayer that he read at the Pentagon and the prayer from Pulp Fiction.
So the prayer is CSAR 25:17, and it reads, and pray with me, please. The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
That's it. Let me read you headlines. Variety magazine. Pete Hegseth quotes Pulp Fiction fake Bible verse. WBAL-TV Baltimore. Hegseth recites quote from Pulp Fiction during prayer. Deadline. Pentagon defends Pete Hegseth's use of Pulp Fiction prayer. The Hill. Pete Hegseth quotes modified Pulp Fiction prayer. USA Today. Hegseth's Pentagon prayer sounds like Pulp Fiction line. The Tennessean. Pulp Fiction or Ezekiel 25:17. Hegseth, now I got to get into here. Hegseth ridiculed for a ridiculous quote. And on it goes. He mentions Caesar 25:17. Do you know what Caesar is? Caesar is combat, search, and rescue. Let me tell you what Pete Hegseth did. Now, by the way, you should know, I will give you what Ezekiel 25:17 is. In the King James Version, I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am the Lord when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. English Standard Version, that's the Bible I use. I will execute great vengeance on them with wrathful rebukes. Then they will know that I am the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon them. New Living Translation, I will execute terrible vengeance against them to punish them for what they have done. And when I have inflicted my revenge, they will know that I am the Lord. And for those of you who do it, the Message, they've been bad boys. I'm going to spank them because I'm daddy. Now, what did Pete Hegseth actually do? Again, CNN, I was on Anderson Cooper last night, made the comparison, said it was like the Pulp Fiction prayer. MSN Now ridiculing Pete Hegseth for the Pulp Fiction prayer. He referenced it as Caesar 25:17 and says that alludes to Ezekiel 25:17, which it actually does. The prayer Pete Hegseth gave yesterday was a prayer from Combat Search and Rescue A-10 pilots. The prayer he gave was printed and given to him by one of the A-10 pilots who positioned his A-10 Warthog between the Iranians searching for our downed airman in Iran, who was in hiding in a ridgeline after his F-15 was struck by Iran. The A-10 pilots participate in combat search and rescue. Caesar 25:17 is the prayer that these pilots recite to each other over radio before they begin their mission. So to paint the broad picture for you, the American Press Corps is ridiculing Pete Hegseth for reading the prayer that our combat search and rescue pilots read to each other before they go into a mission where they risk their lives. You know what the job of the A-10 pilot is in a combat search and rescue? Their job is to put their body between the bad guys and the good guys who are rescuing one of our pilots. That's their job. They rain down hell from their Gatling guns and their planes on the bad guys, risking their very lives so that our combat search and rescue team can extract a pilot. And that's what they did in Iran last week. And before they did it, they read this prayer to each other over the radio, and then they went into combat. And Pete Hegseth was reading the prayer they read to each other that they wrote down and gave to the Secretary of Defense. It is based on the prayer from Pulp Fiction. It is based on the passage from Ezekiel 25:17. I will execute great vengeance on them with wrathful rebukes. Then they will know that I am the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon them. It's a paraphrased in Pulp Fiction. It's paraphrased further in Caesar 25:17. But what Pete Hegseth did was not read a prayer from Pulp Fiction. He read a prayer that combat search and rescue pilots read to each other on the microphone or the radio before they go into combat. That's what he did. And the press corps defiantly decided to lie and claim that Pete Hegseth ignorantly was reading a prayer from Pulp Fiction. Had they bothered to play the full clip, Pete Hegseth himself said exactly what I just said to you. This is the prayer the A-10 pilots said to each other. One of them read it out on the radio to the other pilots as they took off to go save a downed service member in Iran, where they successfully completed the mission. That's what that prayer was. And Pete Hegseth is getting attacked and mocked for reading the prayer that the pilots said before they went off to risk their lives to save one of their own, because they themselves modeled their prayer on that which came from Pulp Fiction. And the press wants you to believe Pete Hegseth said a prayer from Pulp Fiction. He did no such thing, and he described it accurately and honesty, and every single media outlet in America chose to ignore his explanation of where the prayer came from in order to mock him. This is how well coordinated the American press corps is with left-wing interest groups in the United States. They don't care about the truth, though they lecture you and me on misinformation and disinformation and their claims of moral superiority and commitment to the truth. They don't care about the truth. They care about taking shots at the Secretary of Defense, and that's what they did. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you want to be on the program, it is an open line Friday, and I am happy to have you. Now, I gotta talk real quick about just this live golf situation. This isn't really about golf. We are in an era of peak virtue signaling. There are a lot of people on the left who insist that the WNBA is wonderful and valuable, and that it's a great thing that we have the WNBA. And not a single one of those people goes to a WNBA game. It just makes them feel good to support it. Their tribe supports it. Their tribe is for diversity, therefore they like it. Live golf is to MAGA what the WNBA is to the wokes. Live Golf decided to have a couple of tournaments at different Trump golf courses, which, by the way, they're phenomenal golf courses. And people say, oh, the president must love Live Golf. I love Live Golf. Screw the PGA. They're woke and progressive, and I don't like the PGA. I'm all about Live Golf. And not a single one of them watched a game or went to a game. They did exactly what the wokes did with the WNBA. They virtue signaled, this is my tribe, and they couldn't care less. And Live Golf has gone through billions of dollars. The Saudis have announced they're pulling their funding, and the whole thing is going to go belly up. They had a game in Mexico City yesterday that was so well watched that when one of the players made a hole-in-one, there was not a single bit of applause picked up on the microphone. That's how well attended it was. And then there was a power outage, and the whole thing went off. Live Golf is to MAGA what the WNBA was to the wokes. It was something that people virtue signaled for political affiliation and actually never even cared about it. Good riddance to Live Golf. Now, I got to tell you about Perfectly Snug and my mattress topper. You'll love it. Go to perfectlysnug.com/Eric today. Perfectlysnug.com/ERICK. You save up to $280. It is a mattress topper that is like an air conditioner for your bed. It uses fans, not water recirculators like some of the super expensive ones do that then get leaky and moldy. This thing just uses fans. It's very quiet. You cannot hear the fans, but you can actually watch. If you turn it on high, you can watch your sheets inflate. It blows so much cool air through. It's like an air conditioner for your bed. It heats up as well, regulates your temperature during the night. You get a super comfortable sleep. I have one. I love it. They sent one to me and asked me what I thought. I was like, I want to advertise for you guys. You go to perfectlysnug.com/Eric, perfectlysnug.com/ERICK. Even Oprah Winfrey loves this thing. And you can get a great night's sleep. Use your phone to control it. You can set it to auto-regulate. It'll get warm. It'll get cool as you need it. And you get a great night's sleep. Perfectlysnug.com/Eric, ERICK.